Welcome. The first medals of the Paralympic Games in London have been won on the first of 11 days of competition that's underway. In all, 28 gold medals will be won by the end of the day, with Olympic venues seen around the world just a few weeks ago back in action for more elite athletes. Well, Babita Sharma is back at the Olympic Park to see it all begin, so let's join her now. Hi, Babita.
Michelle, hello, and yes, welcome back to our studios overlooking the Olympic Park here in East London, where all the sporting action is underway for these Paralympic Games, and the rain has just started to fall, which is a bit of a shame because the clouds have been looming, but pretty much it's been quite clear here. But of course, it's been a summer of sport, so despite the lack of sunshine, it's the same fantastic atmosphere that was here 2 weeks ago for the Olympic Games. Very much that is apparent here today for day one of the Games. And it all kicked off last night when London held the biggest opening ceremony the Paralympics has ever seen. In the stadium right behind me, 80,000 spectators were told they would be inspired, dazzled and moved over the next 11 days. I think they were. Here's the BBC's David Bond.
Can any sporting event have received a lift-off quite like this? 2 weeks after the Olympic party ended, London was again the centre of the sporting world as the Paralympics burst into life. As with Danny Boyle's celebrated Isles of Wonder, this ceremony also started with a flypast, but in so many ways it was to be a very different kind of show.
Well, of the 4,000 athletes competing come from around the world and from all sorts of backgrounds beyond their disabilities. Some have also faced other serious health issues in the run-up to these Games. Vietnam's champion powerlifter Chao Hoang Thuy Loan, for instance, overcame throat cancer to make it here to London, and she's been telling us her story.
I started doing sport in 2002.
And out of the 164 nations taking part in these Paralympic Games, we should point out that many countries are in fact competing for the first time in these Games. And sadly, 2 countries had to pull out at the last minute 2 days ago, Malawi and also Botswana, citing financial difficulties and funding issues related to their team coming here for the Paralympic Games. But Michelle, it's good to see so many athletes, a larger number than there were in Beijing, being represented here.
Yes, absolutely. Although those funding difficulties are a problem for Paralympic committees right around the world. Before you go, Babita, just help us understand something better, because we're all probably going to spend time over the next 11 days watching the Paralympics. How does the classification in different events work so that athletes compete in as close to possible as a level playing field?
Do you know, I knew you were going to ask me that, Michelle, because it's the one thing that I have been grappling with over the last few days, because it truly is a bit of a quagmire in terms of how they decide things, and it is important that the challenge is met when it comes to deciding whom should race whom in these events. And every single sporting discipline that's taking place over the next 11 days has its own classification system. And some of the 20 sports featured here at the events are relatively straightforward. For example, football 5-a-side is for athletes with visual impairments, and all of them except the goalkeeper wear a blindfold to ensure fairness. But other disciplines like athletics, well, that's a huge maze. For example, in the 100 metres for men, there are 15 separate events. But let me just give you an example of how I understand the classification system to be operating. This morning, the first gold medal of the Games was won by China's Zhang Zhuping. She won in the R2 10 metres air rifle, standing in the SH1 classification system. Now, shooting uses a system which enables athletes with different impairments to compete together. There are 2 classes, SH1, which Zhang won that gold medal for, and that's for athletes who can support the weight of the firearm themselves, and SH2 for athletes who require a shooting stand position to shoot with the air rifle as well. And for example, with powerlifting, that's all classified on weight of athletes as well. So a completely different and individual classification system for all the sporting disciplines taking place. I hope that explains it a little better.
It's complicated, but I think I do understand it better. So thank you very much, Babita. And of course, one of the things that does happen over the course of subsequent Paralympic Games is sometimes athletes get moved from one Paralympic classification to another. So plenty to look out for over the next 11 days.